Mercy. When somebody say that, what do you expect next? Things bad, eh? Pastor? Oh, mercy, Father, mercy. That means they just did something really wrong. Pastor? Yeah? We are celebrating a year of mercy. And what does that mean for us? Why has the Holy Father chosen to dedicate an entire year as a special jubilee dedicated to mercy? Mercy is the lifeblood of Christianity. Take mercy away from Christianity, you get some nice buildings, lots of rules and regulations, you get lots of people doing lots of things, clubs and camps and all kinds of nice things. But what you don't get is the sense of joy and the sense of connection, the sense of being with God, and the sense of a people who are emanating by their faith that they have encountered the living God, and that this living God has shown them something that is so precious that it has transformed their entire life. The church without mercy is a club. The church without mercy is a great human organization. The church without mercy might be very efficient. The church without mercy might even do some great humanitarian acts. But it will not be church, because without mercy there is no connection with who God is and what God has done for us through Christ Jesus our Lord. When we were far from God and did not deserve God's relationship, God sent His Son into the world that we who were strangers and aliens may become sons and daughters. We began this rite in the church today with the sprinkling of holy water. Yeah? And I saw people I thought people were getting a St.Patrick dance or something. I don't know why. I don't know what you're afraid of holy water for. It wasn't the kind of bubble up and fizz if you were already bad. We began with holy water because through the baptismal water, we became children of God. We who were alien and strangers became children of God. We passed through the waters of baptism to become children of God and members of God's household. By becoming members of God's household, we are no longer estranged from God, but we have come to connect with God as part of His family. It is mercy that allows us to be part of God's family. We heard in the first reading that when Adam and Eve had sinned and wandered away from God because they chose to do their own thing and to go their own way, that God said, way back then, at the very beginning of the problem, that I will make enmity between the two offsprings of the woman and of the snake. And the offspring of the woman will crush the head of the serpent, as the serpent tries to strike the heel of the offspring of the woman. That God promised, back at the very beginning of the problems, that He will send a woman whose offspring will crush the head of the serpent. Back in the beginning, God already was thinking about mercy. Already. We hadn't departed for 10 minutes yet before God started to think and speak about mercy. Because mercy is who God is. Mercy is who God is. We are the children of God because of mercy. Have you ever experienced mercy? Come on. Come on, man. Have you ever experienced mercy? You know what that feels like? How does it feel? How does it feel? Huh? It feels good. When you know you've done something really, really, really wrong, and you know what you really, really deserve, and what you receive instead of what you deserve is mercy. How does that leave you? How does it leave you? Free. Free. Free free to open wide again your heart, free to open back again to love, free to come and become who God has called you to be. Mercy is really God's way of bringing us to be the people He wants us to be. I remember as a very young priest, I wasn't a priest for years yet, and this young man came to me. He was bent out of shape with shame. Literally, he was sitting down, but his head was somewhere behind here, and his jersey was up over his head. And in speaking with him, little by little, his story unfolded. Little by little, his story began to be said. And the more he spoke, the less contorted he was. And after a few sessions like that, eventually he was sitting down somewhere like this, and every now and again the jersey would come up. And a little more again, and a little more time, and listening carefully, and eventually he was able to sit straight, and every now and again he'd put his head down. And a little more again, and eventually he would keep his head up, and every now and again just raise his hand in front of his face. This young man was completely disfigured by shame. Completely disfigured because of what the shame that he was carrying in his body. And it was displayed in his whole body. And at the end I said to him, do you believe that the priest has the power to forgive you? And he said, Father, that is the only reason I can sit and face you now. Because I believe you have the power to forgive me. And that was one of the most powerful experiences of mercy. Because as he became unbent, as he became unshamed, as he became free, as he was able to sit and then have a real conversation with no hiding and no movements and no turning and contortions, he started to experience what the power of mercy really is. It is a power to set us free. It is a power to set us free. The power to set us free. When we go for the sacrament of reconciliation, many times we look nice and straight and upright, but inside of us we are bent and out of shape and contorted in our soul because we have done what we know is wrong. And because we don't know how to face God, and sometimes we just don't know how to face the priest, most likely. But whatever we can face, it is because we've been bent out of shape that we are so ashamed that we can't bring whatever it is to God and ask for mercy. In this year, I'm asking that we all make a very special effort to come to the sacrament of mercy. That we make a special effort to avail of the sacrament so that our soul will no longer be bent and contorted, but be able to be free and liberated, to be able to face God openly and honestly without hiding. The first thing that happened after sin came into the world was that Adam and Eve went to hide. Adam, where are you? Lord, I'm hiding. I mean, if you're hiding, shut your mouth too long. They will be hiding as you're hiding. Adam and Eve are hiding. Why? Because of shame. Why? Because they broke their relationship with God, broke their relationship with themselves, with each other, and with the creation. Mercy is a restoration of what cannot be restored without mercy. Mercy is a bringing back together what has been broken. Mercy is receiving superabundance. You know, when we were children, this high, we all knew what justice was. Not so? And this high, we knew it. Mommy, that is not fair. You ever said that? Huh? No, the older ones couldn't say it. They would have thought it, but they couldn't say it. The younger ones would say it. Mommy, that's not fair. Or she unfair me. That was a new verb I heard in Barbados recently. She had feared me. That we have this sense of fairness. That if you receive something that you shouldn't receive badly, that you are being unfair, that somehow somebody has done something unfairly to you. My mother used to, if we had anything to divide, she said, one of you will cut and the other one will choose. She wasn't getting involved in that at all. This sense of fairness, because we compare what this one got and what I got, what that one has and what I have. We compare so much that we have this innate sense of fairness, which is a sense of justice. Justice is when we receive what we deserve. Mercy is when we receive superabundance, when what we deserve was something totally different. Mercy is the superabundant grace and forgiveness that God gives to us when we do not deserve it. And when we receive mercy, it does something to our soul because it connects us with the divine energy and it opens our whole life out. And we can't help but radiate the love and the mercy that we ourselves have received. And if we receive mercy, brothers and sisters, we can't hide that light under a bushel and keep it hidden for others not to see. If we receive mercy, we must shine that light so that many others may see the glory and the salvation of our God. Mercy is superabundance of grace, superabundance of forgiveness, superabundance of being freed. How often in our life, how often have we done what is wrong? I see there are only a few of us. There are only a few of us. If I could put my foot up to I would. How often have we done what is wrong? We've done silly, stupid, foolish things. How often? How often? Come on. I ain't hearing you. We acting like if we are people who don't need no mercy at all. And them is the worst kind of people because they don't even know what they don't know. And that's real bad. How often have we done what is wrong? And come asking for mercy from God. Come asking for mercy from our spouse. Those of you who married long, how often you've had to come and ask for mercy? Not just forgiveness, you know, mercy. Mercy, Father, mercy. How often? Huh? 77 times 7. And something more than that most times. And to receive mercy is to be unhinged and to be allowed to be freed. You know, many times we think that we could transform people by pointing out every little piece of foolishness that they do. You all know that tactic? Yeah? Every little piece of foolishness we see them. Look, you see how you brush your teeth? That is exactly what I don't like. You squeeze the toothpaste from the middle and a tire till you squeeze it from the bottom. Or you hang the toilet roll and you're running it this way, you're supposed to run it that way because that is a top roller. Or whatever the piece of foolishness might be that the person is doing. The truth is, the only way we can actually have an impact to really transform another life is through love and mercy. By giving unconditional love and unconditional mercy, people then find the ground of their being to find a way to be transformed and to allow God's grace to fill their life. If we give mercy unconditionally to someone that we really want to transform, that person will start to shine. Why? Because they will experience like a drowning person oxygen in the room all of a sudden, and they can breathe and fill their lungs all of a sudden. Because what we want most of all is to be understood, to be loved, and to receive mercy from each other. That's the one thing that we want most of all. And it's the thing that is in scarce supply in our world today. The Holy Father has given us this year of mercy. And this year of mercy begins on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. Because if Jesus is the face of mercy, Mary is the mother of mercy. If Jesus is the face of mercy and the expression of the mercy of the Father, Mary is the one through whom mercy has come into the world. Mary is the one who has ushered the era of mercy. By Mary's yes, mercy has come to every single person living on the planet. By her yes, mercy has been unleashed. By her yes, mercy was born. By her yes, the time of justice ended and a time of mercy began. So that God now, living in the world as a human being, flesh of our flesh and bone of our bone, displays to us the tenderness of God's love and the tenderness of God's mercy. But this living human being, Jesus Christ, comes through Mary's yes, comes through Mary's womb, and comes through Mary, who was chosen by God from before all time to be the one through whom his Son would come into the world. We celebrate the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, that God spared Mary the stain of sin, so that Mary, like Eve, could say a yes or a no like Eve. And unlike Eve, Mary chose to say yes, whereas Eve chose to say no. During this year of mercy, I would invite you, as individuals and as families, to recount your stories of mercy, to recollect your stories of mercy. If mercy is true, and if the gospel is alive, the gospel didn't end when the last apostles stopped writing, because the good news of Jesus Christ is ever present in every age, and it is present in this age, and it is present in your life. And if in your life in this year you can recollect experiences of mercy where you have known what mercy is, and you can recollect that and share it with friends and family, it will nurture and strengthen us to tap back in, to connect again to the mercy of God. The mercy of God and the loving kindness of God's presence. You know, sometimes you have equipment that is perfectly good. You see up there, they have some perfectly good lights. You see them up there? They're perfectly good. And up there too, there's some perfectly good lights. But those lights are very little use to us right now, aren't they? Are they of any use to us right now? Why not? Why not? Because they're not plugged in. They're just not plugged in. And because they're not plugged in, they just stand up there taking up space. If those lights were to be plugged in, hint, 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 they would no longer be just there standing up, taking up space. That light will shine upon us, upon the altar. It will shine upon the whole situation. It would bring light where there was darkness. It would bring a newness into being. That's the quality of mercy. Without mercy, the church is a dark, old building. Without mercy, the church is just an empty shell. Without mercy, the church is a group of people walking in and out, doing a lot of things in frenetic activity. Without mercy, there is no true light radiating out from us back out into the world. We could be perfect because God created us so. We could be perfect because we have been baptized by Jesus and brought into his family. We could have everything ready, but unless we are plugged into the encounter with Jesus Christ, the Lord of mercy, and unless we encounter and experience mercy, brothers and sisters, we would just be an empty, booming, gonging shell that is doing nothing. But to be plugged in to the encounter of Christ and mercy is to be set afire with light and allowing that light to shine for many to see. For many to see. And when we receive light, we then reflect light. And as we receive mercy, we too will start to reflect mercy. And as we experience mercy and recount the stories of mercy in our own life, we will start to give mercy to others. You know, I had a friend once was complaining to me and he said, you know, I done with this God and I done. I said, what happened? He said, I pray for patience and like the more I pray, the worse my life gets. I said, boy, you real stupid, yes? Patience, not me. Because if you pray for patience, you don't get an infusion of it, you know. You get every opportunity to exercise it. And during this year, we will receive every opportunity to exercise mercy. And when you're ready to let your mouth fly, bite your tongue and say, mercy, oh God, mercy. When you see you're ready to let loose, just remember what to say. Mercy, Father, mercy. When you see you're driving your car and you're ready to use that car like a missile coming out from some Soviet Union, what do you have to say? Mercy, Father, mercy. This year, let us consciously choose to give mercy, where what we really want to give is, but that's a whole other story. Yeah? We leave that one alone. During this year of mercy, we've come through the holy door. And in John's Gospel, we know the door is Christ. I am the gate of the sheepfold. No one comes in except through me. We have come through the holy door. And whenever you come to this cathedral, I encourage you to come through the holy door. This door here, on this side. To come through the door, because each time we come through the door, we have a special grace given to us. During this year of mercy, the Holy Father grants indulgence. This is not just the forgiveness of our sin. This is wiping the slate clean. You all who have computers, you know you can delete a file. But you know that file is still around, yeah? And it's only when you go and clean out the trash bucket that you really find gone completely. But this is more than cleaning the trash. This is cleaning the whole computer till you can't find that file nowhere. It's not on the computer, it's not in the clouds. It wiped out from both systems. To engage in an indulgence is to come through the door as we have. Is to go to the sacrament of reconciliation within 1 week. It's also to say the I believe, the creed, which we will say today. And to say our Father and 3 Hail Marys and a Glory be for the intentions of the Holy Father. That's what we do for an indulgence. And if there's someone in your life that you know you have really struggled to forgive, I would invite you to offer the indulgence for that person and to ask God to help that person. And you start to pray for them during this holy year. If there is unforgiveness that is so contorting your soul, I would ask you during this year to pray honestly for that person, that God may help them and free them and set your heart free as He frees them. During this year, we have 2 holy doors in our diocese. This one here, and the main door in Our Lady of Sorrows. And during the year, families from time to time on a Sunday could visit that church also. As a little pilgrimage, as a little excursion, as a little time together as a family, to be able to receive the mercy of God. Mercy, brothers and sisters, is the very lifeblood of the church. Without it, the church is nothing at all. And too often, we have been an unmerciful people. We've been hard with each other. And sometimes we've been unforgiving to each other, holding resentments for long, long times. Y'all watching me like if I'm talking about some other church and not this one. That's all you're watching me. You take an eye on. Yeah? In this year of mercy, let us really bend our knee. Let us really bend our knee before God and ask for grace, the grace of forgiveness. During this year of mercy, we're going to look very carefully at our ministry to the poor. And we're going to deepen that ministry. Not necessarily giving out more and more and more to people who don't need, but making sure that we really touch the lives of those who are poor. Making sure that everyone comes and walks away with dignity. Making sure that our encounters with the poor is nothing less than what we would want with our encounter with Jesus Christ. That we would see in the face of the poor, the face of the merciful one, the face of the Redeemer, the face of God Himself. And during this year of mercy, as we strive for mature discipleship, as we remember that we have families, and as we bring mercy to those in our families, let us really not hesitate to accept the grace that God has given to us. Let us open wide our heart. Let us receive the grace, and let us radiate back that mercy to everyone that we meet. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.